Welcome to the Medical Device Made Easy podcast. Here is Munir El-Azouzi from easymedicaldevice.com, and today we'll try to help you to invest more in your regulatory affairs department. And for that, I have with me James Gianoutsos from Rimsys. So James, welcome to the Medical Device Made Easy podcast.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Great. So James, for people that maybe don't know about you, can you just make a small introduction of yourself?
Sure. My name is James Gianoutsos. I'm founder and CEO of Rimsys. And really my industry experience is 17 plus years in the medical device industry, working for companies like Philips all the way down to small, medium-sized companies and startups. Really working the breadth of medical devices from even consumer products like soothing pacifiers all the way up to ventilators and surgical sealants and adhesives, even had a small stint in biologics as well. But now my primary focus is running Rimsys, which is a regulatory information management system specifically designed for medical device industry.
Great. So as said, the objective of today is to try to give some tips or information of people on how to invest, maybe or better investment in the regulatory team. But maybe just to start, because we have a lot of startups that are listening to this kind of episode and try to learn about quality and regulatory affairs. Can we make a kind of a definition of what is a regulatory affairs department first?
Sure. I think that definition probably changes. If you're small, if you're a 10-person company versus a 10,000-person company. I think in the general sense of things, if we're starting at the startup aspects of things, so typically if you're a pre-market company where you're trying to get your product into market, let's say for the US, for this example, right? You generally speaking need design controls, which is a quality management function, but your primary focus is really on the regulatory function, and that's really around the submission, the application process, clinical trials if that's needed, and really understanding from a strategy standpoint what is going to be my intended purpose, intended use, target audience, market, and a lot of the things that go into the strategy of how to actually get this product into the market that you're trying to get it into. So that's first and foremost probably the most simple explanation from a startup standpoint. If you're talking a 10,000-person company, you have departments that are specific to regulatory operations. So that's the day-to-day management of regulatory, meaning that I need to renew registrations in different countries for these particular products to ensure that they don't expire, they stay on the market, working with competent authorities and country sponsors, authorized reps to really ensure that those products stay on the market for really the patients that need them the most. And then there's other departments in those big companies, excuse me, like regulatory intelligence is a whole different department. And then there's the business side of things, and then there's the market side of things. So there's a business regulatory and then a market regulatory, where business regulatory is really around the product itself. And then it works with the market regulatory to ensure that it's meeting the applicable regulations, applicable requirements, and working internally at the business to ensure that the business supports the market from that standpoint. So it really entails a lot through pre-market, on-market, and post-market. And I could probably talk for 2 days on what is regulatory and how that differentiates between quality, and that's probably a good topic for another podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, but it's great. Your definition, when you said it, mainly, it looks like it's an important department. It's something that is really instrumental, if I can say, for a company to have.
Sure.
But mainly, I have a lot of experience in that also. But when we go to companies, this is not the preferred department of the from the manufacturer side. So do you have an idea maybe from your side what you think why maybe CEOs or other marketing people are not really liking regulatory affairs?
Yeah, I think from when you're a startup, right? I mean, regulatory strategy will make or break your company, period. Depending on how it's reimbursed, how you classify your device, and the specific strategy that you, in terms of the submissions and additional information requests and things of how you respond to that. as well as just making sure that you have it properly set up and you're going down that regulatory pathway, the most efficient regulatory pathway you can at day one. So you're not burning investor cash. So you're not burning company cash from that standpoint. I think, so on the smaller you are, the more critical it is, not necessarily, but more critical for the business, I would say. I think as the company grows, it becomes more of what we would define as a cost center, meaning that it's a necessary evil, right? We already have products in the market. Our company is already generating millions of dollars. Hey, from a regulatory operations standpoint, we just got to keep churning and keep those renewals going. And so it's not, I would say, generally considered a revenue function, and it's a very backwards way of thinking, especially from a regulatory standpoint. I mean, there's really three things that medical device manufacturers can do to increase their market penetration, and then two, their revenue. That's focus on sales, marketing, and regulatory. Without any of those, you are really going to become stagnant. And I think, traditionally speaking, the bigger company you are, the more the company views regulatory more as that cost center approach, unfortunately.
And sometimes you see also some regulatory people that say, you cannot say this, you cannot do that, you cannot, I mean, they are the ones that are blocking you from being innovative sometimes, no? Or being creative, if I can say.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, and I think it's in our nature as regulatory affairs professionals to say, hey guys, let's take a step back, right? We've got to make sure this is right. And I think sometimes that comes off as saying, hey, we're the blocker, right? Us regulatory, you can't do anything without regulatory's approval, right? But the intent behind that is really to make sure that the product doesn't come off the market in an unfavorable way, right? Whether that's a market recall, or something happens in the field, or you miss a renewal, whatever the case may be. And they're really doing their job to ensure that that product in your company has the best chance of success in the market. And so I think making sure that us as regulatory folks have a better communication channel or a better way to talk through that and partner with the sales team, partner with the quality team, the R&D team, the engineering team, to ensure that they have the right requirements up front so that you can really work with them moving forward to make the best chance of your product, one, getting to market, but two, staying on the market.
Exactly. And do you have some recommendation in terms of what is the most important when your company tries to build the regulatory affairs team or department?
Yeah, I think, when you're building out your regulatory affairs department, nobody goes to school for regulatory affairs. I mean, they kind of do now a little bit. There's some certification programs. There's a few out there, but you kind of just fall into it, right? And I would say majority of including my case, a majority of the folks that I've talked to, my peers and colleagues, they started out in quality and then moved into regulatory. And I think when you're starting to build out your regulatory affairs team, you really need to understand the expertise and the type of skill set that you're going to need, not necessarily the specific knowledge for that specific device. But what you are looking for is a scientific mind, a technical mind, somebody who can work the gears and understand the nuances of a particular situation, somebody who has experience with prior companies, right? Even when somebody doesn't have a lot of experience, somebody who's green in the regulatory affairs, what you really want is ensure that they're curious, making sure that they ask really good questions, because one, that's the only way that they're going to learn, because everything within regulatory is, generally speaking, tribal knowledge. And so you want somebody who's really, really curious, really technical mindset, really detail oriented. It's very much in regulatory's nature to be detailed oriented because the details matter, especially in that. So I think as you grow your team, look for those type of specific soft skills, if you will, and then think about also where you want to go from a product standpoint. What's the least path of resistance to get that product into market the quickest, with the least amount of resources, and ensuring that it's the most cost effective. So leveraging other applications, leveraging other technical documentation from other countries that you're already approved in to hopefully help generate some additional and faster time to market metrics for you. I think those are a few really key items. Everybody says that regulatory intelligence is the way to go, I guess. But regulatory intelligence really, if you ask 10 people what regulatory intelligence means, you're gonna get 10 different answers. Because it completely means something different for each person in each organization. And at the end of the day, regulatory intelligence doesn't matter unless you have your information managed appropriately. And I think some folks get caught up in saying, oh, if we had an intelligent solution, right, it might solve all of our problems. But it's actually the inverse. You have to make sure that you have your data management correct, because in the world of regulatory affairs, data management and information management is the key to really anything. That's how you find out if you've had previous submissions with prior issues, right? And you want to be able to look for that quickly. Information management in terms of how you're using information across different regulatory authorities and different competent authorities around the globe for your specific devices. How your renewals are handled and how you're monitoring expirations, how you're managing all your product regulatory data, and how that information feeds into the other systems globally from that standpoint. You really can't get ahead until you get your house in order. And then once you get your house in order, then you can really start around that intelligence aspects of things.
So having house in order is also having the right people that know how to make it ordered, have the right mindset also, and have also the right tools for that. So we talk. I mean, we started a long time ago, if I can say, in this kind of field. Before that, there was kind of a paper where I write my information, or I try to subscribe to some journals that were providing some kind of updates of regulatory, etc. So it was like manual, a lot of effort, a lot of things. And then we moved to internet, where we now get more information. And now we move to some platform, and now we move to ChatGPT and ask them, can you tell me what is the latest news about this and that? And you will summarize this about it. So how do you see now this kind of digitalization of this regulatory field? So your Rimsys is a platform that is helping also to organize a house, as you have said. So how do you see all this moving now? What is the next step after all that? Hey, just a second. Do you need a EU, Swiss or UK representative? Then choose Easy Medical Device. We can represent you and also become your importer. Contact us at eo@easymedicaldevice.com.
Yeah, it's a great question, something that is very timely. I think one of the biggest things I think is happening in the industry, in the medtech industry in general, is that there is a digital transformation happening. And we're seeing very big peaks of that, and we're seeing some really good escalation of that for a lot of the enterprise level customers, as well as the mid market as well. And what we're seeing is that they're finally understanding how big of an issue and that regulatory is, and how it feeds really in, or how everything feeds into it, I should say. And that has been the biggest understanding and issue of all of that moving forward, because without that digital transformation approach, without that top level approach of saying, hey, we need to change something, nothing else matters. I mean, there's billion-dollar companies that are managing regulatory affairs on color-coded Excel spreadsheets, SharePoint sites, and manually understanding kind of where things are. And so, first and foremost, MedTech is generally 10 years behind the times from a technology transformation standpoint. And so order number one is get it organized. Figure out where things are, because I guarantee as much as you think you know where they're at, you don't have a clue, because we have seen some very interesting stuff from global manufacturers that you would think would have their stuff in order, and they don't. And it was actually one of the main reasons I created Rimsys was exactly for that reason. Because if the big guys don't have it in order, the small guys don't have a chance.
Exactly.
Because they have a platform to get on. And so number one is just get your stuff in order. It doesn't matter how you do it, but put it into a central source of truth. At the end of the day, once you do that, all that other stuff can be contextually layered in. So we're talking about, ChatGPT, excuse me, generative AI versus AI, and all this other stuff, right? That stuff is meaningless at the end of the day unless you have good data. Data is key for all that information to be relevant and contextualized to your products and your company in the markets that you care about. And without getting that organization as central source of truth in, you're going to have subpar results at best. And I would say that there is, in my opinion, what we call regulatory intelligence, however you define that, is going to be commoditized. Meaning that anybody could go out there and find a regulation, find something, have it come to right into your inbox, and then you can do something with that, whatever that is, right? Generally speaking, when we say intelligence is just information.
Yeah.
But until you do something with it, it's really meaningless. And so figuring out how to bring in the relevant information, contextualized to your products, to your company, and the markets you care about, with that organized data subset, right? That foundation that you have now built will now take you to that next level. And that's really the vision of taking regulatory into the digital age.
So what will be the, from your side, and maybe it's also what you are doing for marketing also, Rimsys. So what are the advantages for a regulatory department to move to this kind of digitalization, to this age, to those maybe AI or whatever? So what will be the advantage? Because we hear some people that are saying, with all this, I will lose my job and I will not be able to work again, etc., etc. So is this the mindset that we should have regarding that? Or
no, I think when generative AI came out, everybody said that everybody's going to lose everybody's job, right? And I think that's the furthest from the truth. In fact, I think it has created so many jobs and will create so many jobs. I think what it does do is it eliminates a lot of the administrative burden regulatory affairs is bogged down with constantly. So like in my job, when I was managing international regulatory operations, right, globally, I can say very confidently that 50 to 60% of my time was spent just looking for information, literally just going through file cabinets, searching for information. Where is this product sold? How can I get this product sold into this country? Sales people calling me, can I sell this country? What are some issues with it? It doesn't matter what the question was. All I was doing was running around trying to find information so I can move what I perceive moving the company forward or the department forward. And so what it does do is, it actually provides a sense of relief, or will provide, I should say. It doesn't today, but it will, from an AI perspective. A sense of relief that when you get hired for a regulatory affairs professional job, you're actually do the job that you're hired to do, and not the documentation and the administrative things that honestly you weren't hired to do and you don't want to do. Nobody wants to do that. Consultants don't even want to do that. It's just the necessary evil of the department because you're so disorganized and so dysfunctional because nobody has had a great system to organize that information previously. And so it's a different mindset from that standpoint. In fact, I would use it as a critical advantage, once it becomes more of the commoditized solution.
And do you see any disadvantage maybe, or something that people should be careful on, some kind of warning to say, yes, it's great, but be careful of that?
Oh yeah, I would say I'm almost waiting for somebody to post a rejection from a submission because it was created through generative AI.
Okay.
I'm waiting for that news article to come out. And I would say you really have to be careful because what it doesn't allow you to do is it doesn't replace critical thinking. Critical thinking is the crux of regulatory affairs in general, right? If you're talking about some of the things that it might help you with, yeah, might help you with creating some standardized things, right? But you really have to be careful of those hallucinations, those things where it starts going off in a tangent and maybe you don't know it, but it does. And quite honestly, I think it's just still very new. That it's really around the use cases that it's going to be is really where it's going to matter. Generative AI is very, especially from a writing standpoint or technical writing standpoint, you can see a lot of advantages to that. But you can't allow it to do the critical thinking for you, because otherwise then it is doing your job, right? And it will never replace that critical thinking, period, because it's all those nuances, it's all that gray that regulatory affairs lives in, that we live in as regulatory affairs professionals, that it can't decipher, that you really need that critical thinking. And so I would say be careful with it, because it is very, it's new. Security as well is a big problem. And even though companies might say it's isolated, I don't know if it really is. And you have to really dive down deep with that company to understand what they're selling you.
Yeah, exactly. And I confirm what you are saying. So I'm testing a lot of ChatGPT, mainly in terms of regulatory. So I ask questions and try to get some answers. And when I get the answer, I say it's wrong what he said. And it's funny because I tell ChatGPT, you're wrong because of that.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yes, it's true what you are saying, etc. So yeah, just don't rely on all what this is saying, because mainly it's new, and this is also a field that is not where you need to have some understanding, some creativity, some understanding, and some it's common sense also, which maybe sometimes it doesn't have.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't take it for face value. You have to dig deeper. And knowing the right questions to ask is critical to understanding any regulatory problem.
Exactly. Yeah. So now, as we say, we talk about those platforms, and we know that maybe some people that are listening today, they are more like, oh yeah, but I'm still using spreadsheet on Excel. I'm still visiting each website one by one to understand what is the change. I have to go to the French authority website to see what are the elements, etc. I have to go to the UK government website to see what are the changes of this. So to do my review, I have to do all that. So as we say, digitalization can help you to do it more quickly and avoid all this stress. So how can you convince someone to go to his boss and say, can you invest more in my department, while you are saying before that it's a more cost center than something where revenues come?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a really good question. I think it's one that we hear a lot. And really, it's about changing the mindset, if you will. And it's a hard thing to do, but I think it starts with really simple things you can do. So I would say traditionally, whenever you're looking at metrics, when we say regulatory metrics, it's time to market. It's how many renewals was I supposed to do? How many did I actually get? How many actually expired? Even though nobody wants to admit it, expirations happen all the time, and your products come off the market. Competitors, customers aren't going to wait for your product to get reapproved or the renewal to happen. They're going to go to another company's product. And so when you start thinking about how fast you're getting product to market, how you're managing and getting visibility to all the information that you actually need to manage to actually keep your company afloat, if you will, you start realizing that it is, bar none, one of the most critical aspects from a medtech industry standpoint that you can have to keep your company competitive in the marketplace, and also retain the revenue for that market itself and for the products it is. And so one of the biggest things I always say is, when you're talking about metrics, when you're trying to convince your leadership team, don't talk about how many renewals I did for this product in a particular month, right? talk about the dollar figures that you saved the company or that you retained on the market. So that means that instead of saying, hey, I had 10 renewals this quarter, and I renewed all 10, you could say, hey, I renewed 10 products, or 100 products, whatever, how many were on that renewal, and retained $10 million in the market for this company. And when you start talking that way, when you start talking with dollar figures, it changes the whole dynamic of the conversation. It's no longer just one renewal. It is now $10 million associated to that renewal, that if I miss that, that has serious consequences, not only from the products that get to the patients that honestly need them the most, but also from the business standpoint of losing that revenue and all that opportunity cost that you're missing out on, because again, those customers aren't going to wait for your product to be renewed. And we had one customer where they had 26 products on a few different registrations in the TAM market, and they missed their registration because they were using color-coded Excel spreadsheets. And the intern was managing their color-coded Excel spreadsheet, and the intern missed the date because it was coded incorrectly. So the company lost out on it was between $5 and $7 million because it took them almost 2 years to get those products re-registered, and they blamed it on the intern, which is a whole different problem.
Exactly.
That's a systemic issue that the company needs to address, and that starts with getting your information organized, because without it being organized, you have no chance of ensuring with confidence that I have this under control. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I've even seen from a leadership standpoint, is that they always tell me, it's like, I don't have the confidence that we have all of our stuff handled. I don't know where it's at. Like, I have my regulatory leader telling me they got it handled, but I don't know that. There's still this uneasiness feeling with me as an executive leader that we're going to miss a renewal. We're going to do something that's going to cause our products to get off the market. And when you start talking about the confidence, when you start talking about the organization, when you start talking about the dollar figures associated with the products that you're responsible for, to maintaining the steady state from a revenue generation standpoint for the company, that conversation changes pretty drastically. And so if you can start thinking in that mindset and talking that mindset, there's a lot of, I would say, opportunity for you as a regulatory department to, one, even have a budget, which you don't typically get from a software standpoint, but more importantly, to show the value, not just as a cost center, but as a revenue function of your business.
Exactly, yeah. And we talk also about regulatory intelligence, and missing also some updates, missing also some regulatory changes can also be critical for companies that are then going behind, if I can say, in terms of the regulation compliance mainly. Getting also some non-conformances from the notified bodies or from authorities, etc. So you have a lot of cases where not having the right information at the right moment, or not doing the right activity at the right moment, can be penalizing your company and increasing, if I can say, the risk for non-compliance for it. So yeah, it's completely clear for that. In terms of Rimsys, so what is the audience that maybe can need Rimsys, and what mainly is offered with Rimsys?
Yeah, so Rimsys is really at the crux of it, a central source of truth to organize that regulatory data. And so when we say that regulatory data, that means that we are product centric, meaning that we literally take your products out of your PLM system or integrate them with your PLM system and put them into our system, and then manage them globally from a design dossier technical documentation standpoint, from a registration standpoint, from a regulatory lifecycle standpoint, maintaining all the versions, all the product data, all the UDI data that is now becoming critically important across multiple markets, to manage that data with your regulatory data on top of that. Managing your standards, being notified of when standards change, what products are impacted by that, and even managing your general safety performance requirements or your essential principles if you're outside the EU. and making sure that those are completely updated all the time, so that if standard changes, not only do you understand what products are impacted, but you also understand that each row within that specific essential principle is impacted, and then making those changes globally on a global scale, that you can really get back to, again, the thing that you're hired to do is that be that critical thinking and for the company as a regulatory department. And I would say that the advantages of that are massive. Not only do you reduce the reliance on consultants, you also increase your confidence quite a bit, and then also take that administrative burden off your regulatory affairs team. Like we have one customer that has 800 general safety performance requirements in one division, and they're completely digitalized with Rimsys. And if one standard changes, it used to take them 3 weeks and 3 regulatory consultants to sift through all 800 Word documents to make that one change for that one standard. And so if you imagine the costs associated with that is astronomical, especially at scale at a global level. And then within Rimsys, if one standard changes, you can make it that one change not only within one essential principle, but across all 800 at the same time. And so routing them for approval, routing them for all that routing them for approval, and actually getting them approved. So something that took 3 weeks and 3 regulatory professionals now takes one person 30 minutes to do.
Exactly.
It's crazy. And so the advantages from the efficiency standpoint just snowball into one, getting that confidence, getting that visibility, and ensuring that your products are maintained from a revenue standpoint. And so really it's getting that information and regulatory information into a central source of truth that you can manage it appropriately, and so nothing falls through those cracks. Once you do that, once you get it organized, then you can start layering on those other aspects of AI, and some other cool things.
So then we add the flavor of AI, we add the flavor of all the other things. Yep. And people can get a demo for it?
Yeah, they can get a demo. Just go to our website, www.rimsys.io, and there's a little Reggie the duck there, because it's get your regulatory ducks in a row, and he'll and Reggie will help set up a demo for you.
Great. So don't hesitate to go on the show notes. You have all the information. Also, your LinkedIn profile, James, so that people maybe can ask you questions if they have. And also the link for going to Rimsys and check all that. So James, it was really a pleasure. Thank you again for all the information you provided. I hope this will help people to convince their boss to invest more in the regulatory team, and to maybe, as we said, to remove some of the burden with some of those platforms. So I really hope it will be working.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.